Facing the parking lot, I thought fondly of my beloved old car. Robert, you really are. As I turned toward the voice, Sophia looked at me with a calm expression. My name is Robert, and I'm 26 years old. I joined my current company as a skilled employee with prior work experience 2 years ago. The company is a small programming firm. As a software engineer, my days are spent in front of a computer. Most of my colleagues are also intensely focused on their computers. For someone like me who's not great at communicating, it's the perfect workplace. Today, everyone on the floor is quietly getting their work done. Robert. Except for this one colleague. Hey, I need to talk to you. This is Samantha. She's 24, younger than me, but she joined the company right after high school. She's been here for nearly 6 years, making her a veteran. She handles administration, accounting, and miscellaneous tasks. She's pretty meticulous at her job, but what a character! Bright blonde hair, perfect makeup and nails, and daily changing perfumes. She's just a different breed. The floor, usually quiet, tends to be lively whenever she speaks to someone. What is it? Naturally, I, who am not fond of communication, find Samantha challenging. We sit far apart, so she rarely speaks to me. What does she want today? Why don't you go on a blind date? A blind date? I couldn't help but exclaim in a ridiculous tone. At that, Samantha burst into laughter. Don't take it so seriously. There's this really cute girl, one of my colleagues, you know? Aren't you interested? Not really. I cut her off sharply. The woman Samantha is trying to set me up with. I just don't feel like we'd be a good match. Ah, come on, just meet her. Just when I thought the conversation was over, she persisted. I'm not interested in dating right now. I thought I had cut her off sharply, but Samantha was unfazed, asking, so? Maybe you'll get interested once you meet her? Seriously, don't you find everyday life a bit bland? I've never seen you looking like you're having fun. She said this bluntly. Since she's always like this, her words don't particularly hurt me. I'm satisfied with my life as it is. Besides, Samantha. What are you thinking, introducing someone like me? No offense, but I'm a plain guy. I know. It's one thing to say it myself, but it irks me when others do. All the guys around me are so loud. I thought maybe it'd be refreshing to have someone like you around for a change. That was quite an insult. Naturally, my answer was a firm no. But, right? It's settled then. This Sunday, at 10 a.m., meet at Central Station. You have a car, right? Come pick me up in your car, okay? She had forcefully decided on the time and place. I said I'm not going. It's impossible. Please ask someone else. How about asking Ryan? When I casually mentioned Ryan, his eyes widened and he shook his head vigorously. Robert is the one I want this time. Are you really going to turn down a colleague's request? I won't do your errands anymore. I won't even process your expenses. Are you okay with that? That would be a problem. Well, but... Just as I was about to complain further, our manager, Brandon, shouted in anger. Samantha, enough. Good, Brandon finally intervened. Just as I thought this issue was resolved, Robert. Just give in and go. She's making too much noise, followed by an unbelievable continuation. Yes. Look, it's an order from the manager. I tried to protest Samantha, cutting off her exclamations. But, come on, it's a good experience. Maybe non-assertive men are the trend now. But as an American man. Brandon, suddenly fired up, lectured me for about 20 minutes. I decided to give up. Fine, I'll go on Sunday. It seems she targeted me out of novelty, but I planned to bow out within 5 seconds of the meeting. On the day, Sunday. I dressed casually and arrived at the meeting spot in my beloved car. After parking, I met up with them at the station concourse. Next to Samantha, who was wearing an even flashier miniskirt than usual, was my blind date. Her hair wasn't as flashy as Samantha's but still dyed brown. Her makeup was impeccable with false eyelashes, and she wore a long skirt. Samantha was teasing her. Hey Sophia, What's with that outfit? You're less enthusiastic than usual. Where's your sexy miniskirt? Don't spill the beans, Samantha. So, she usually wears more revealing clothes. Isn't your perfume too mild today? Eh? But Samantha, you said milder is better. I did say that, but isn't this too mild? Right, Robert? Honestly, I couldn't care less. I really think we're just too different. Ah, this is Sophia. Samantha introduced us, ignoring my confusion. The woman introduced herself cheerfully. I'm Sophia. Very happy to meet you today. I'm Robert. Nice to meet you. As I mumbled my greeting, Samantha immediately retorted, cheer up. Stand up straight. And what's with that outfit? You knew you were meeting a girl. Right? You could have put more effort into it. I should have chosen an outfit for you. Samantha was as loud as ever this early in the morning. This is my best outfit, though. Samantha was shocked by my blurted reply, and Sophia burst out laughing. Did she just laugh? That's funny. I didn't know what exactly tickled her, but my appearance didn't make her decline the blind date. Then let's head over to the cafe in Robert's car. We can talk more there. Samantha energetically waved her fist and headed for the parking lot. We arrived at the parking lot and walked toward my beloved car. As we approached, Samantha's face grew increasingly pale. Please, get in. When I unlocked my old, cherished car, Samantha screamed. I had a hunch, but is this junker really your car? Calling it a junker is rude. It's an old compact car that I've been taking good care of. Sure, the paint is peeling here and there, and it's faded. It might look ready for the scrapyard, but I maintain it well, and it still runs fine. Ew, I'm riding in this? I can't. It's you, Samantha. I knew you would say that. Now, Sophia, you feel the same, right? No way. Nodding, I was ready to call it quits there. That's super cute though. What? Samantha and I froze. Wow. It's a two-door. So cute. It looks adorable with its compact shape and faded color. Can I ride in it? Sure. Overwhelmed by the enthusiasm, I agreed. Sophia happily climbed into the car. She buckled up and sat up straight. Hey, Samantha, what's going on here? What do you mean? Well, normally someone would politely refuse after seeing this car, right? It's fine, Sophia seems to like it. But I have no plan. Just as I was about to say more, Samantha's phone rang. Oh. It's my boyfriend. No way, he's free to meet now. Lucky. I had a bad feeling. Okay. I don't want to ride in this car. You two have fun. Just as I expected. Give me a break. I can't do this without you, Samantha. I'm not good at talking. As I protested, Samantha seemed preoccupied with thoughts of her boyfriend. It's okay, it's okay. Sophia will do the talking. Okay, Robert? Smirking, she leaned in close. Make sure you get her. With that, Samantha vanished into the station concourse at the speed of light. Where's Samantha? When Sophia realized it was just going to be only me, she looked a bit uneasy. She's got a date with her boyfriend, so it's just us two now. Awkward, right? I'll just take you home today. I hinted at disbanding, but Sophia responded, oh, that's great for Samantha, she's been looking lonely lately. Oh, can I go to the restroom? I'll be back in 5 minutes. Though she could have taken the train home. Without saying a word, I nodded, watching her walk away. When Sophia returned, she seemed like a different person. Sorry. I touched up my makeup. If I had shown up in front of Samantha like this, she would have teased me. The makeup Sophia wore was more natural, almost like she was barefaced. Recently, my makeup has been too heavy. Oh, how is it? Weird. Her slightly embarrassed expression was unexpectedly cute. It's fine, either way, but... Sophia flinched slightly. You don't have to force yourself. Then Sophia blushed slightly and said, since we've just met, oh, but please feel free to point out anything odd about me. Oh, that was quite rude of Samantha, wasn't it? I'm sorry. She didn't mean any harm. Ah, indeed, she did tear into my car quite a bit. She's notoriously blunt at work too. But it's okay. She may speak harshly, but at heart, she's a good person. I know that. She's also meticulous at her job, and she even makes coffee daily, keeping each employee's preferences in mind. Saying this, Sophia looked as if she herself had been praised. Are you sure this is okay? Suddenly just the two of us. It's fine. Let's go. So the blind date continued. I'm not good at making conversation, and surely, if the silence in the car drags on, she will tire of a plain guy like me. I tried to steel myself, but then. Do you want some chewing gum? Water? I brought a variety of things. Do you prefer sweet or salty snacks? What do you like to do on your days off, Robert? Her words bombarded me like an unstoppable deluge. There was hardly a moment of silence. And there I was, unable to respond well. Gradually, I began to sink into self-loathing. This is fun. Hearing that, I blurted out, I'm not looking to date anyone right now. Without any context, I suddenly blurted out my true feelings. I was slightly irritated that Sophia called our quiet car ride fun. I wasn't providing any entertainment. There's no way it could actually be fun. We should end this farce quickly. It's a waste of both my time and Sophia's. At a red light, I glanced at Sophia's face, and she responded with a smile. That's okay. Her smile seemed a bit clouded. Don't be so serious. Oh, are you tired from driving? Should we take a break somewhere? The tense atmosphere lightened slightly. In the end, my statement only seemed to make her more considerate. Feeling unbearable, I suggested going to a movie. Sophia's eyes sparkled. A movie date. Yay! I want to buy caramel popcorn. I had only suggested it because it meant 2 hours without needing to talk. Yet, she was excited. I sank deeper into self-disgust. Wow! What's that? Where? Did that come up before? Ha! That line was funny, wasn't it? That was naive of me. People who love to talk will talk anywhere. Seemingly aware of disturbing other people, she whispered in my ear in a hushed voice. It was ticklish. Suddenly, I realized. Wait, is she taller than me? Sophia's face was above my line of sight. Oh, maybe it's just her good posture. I've always been a bit slouched. I had noticed her good posture even in the car. As I was momentarily captivated by her posture, she offered me some popcorn. I hadn't really wanted any. Reflecting back, she had offered drinks and chewing gum while driving, too. I felt a warm feeling inside. It reminded me of how my grandmother used to show her care. After the movie, the question arose, where to next? I shouldn't be swept away by Sophia's cheerful disposition. I needed to be clear. Sorry, continuing this is a waste of time. I really don't want to date anyone, and we're just too different in personality and everything. I'll drive you home, let's call it a day. Sophia looked surprised and a bit resigned. Understood, but there's just one place I'd like to stop by before we head back, is that okay? So, I drove the car, since it seemed to be on our way home. Here. The destination was a spacious park with a view of the ocean. Famous for its annual fireworks festival, it was actually a place I was quite familiar with. Sophia suggested we walk a little, so we got out of the car. Unusually, Sophia was silent. It felt a bit awkward. This bench. It was just an ordinary bench in the park. This is where you helped me, she said. Surprised, I stared at Sophia. You're the type who can't leave someone in trouble alone, aren't you? I remembered several instances where this was true. Lost, feeling sick. When I spot someone like that in the bustling crowd, I can't just ignore them. Indeed, that's my nature. My beloved grandparents were the same. One day during the fireworks festival, I came here with friends. I wasn't used to the sandals I was wearing and they hurt so much. It became painful to walk, and I went looking for a convenience store. I told my friends to go ahead without me. But there was no store around. And when I couldn't walk anymore, I sat down here on this bench and huddled up, then you offered me a bandage. I remembered. Suddenly, a memory of a woman holding her foot and looking down came to my mind. Wait, that was you, Sophia? You looked so different. I didn't recognize you at all. Sophia smiled faintly. I had dyed my hair black and styled it up, so the vibe was totally different. I see, that explained the drastic change in her appearance. As I nodded in understanding, Sophia continued. I was so moved, but I couldn't ask for your contact info, and I never thought we'd meet again. But there was a drinking party of your company last month, right? As she mentioned it, I recalled. A mandatory social gathering that everyone had to attend. That day, Samantha called me. It sucked, so we're having our own little party, she said. I was nearby, so I joined early, and there you were. Robert, I was so surprised. I asked Samantha to introduce you. I wasn't just filler then. It wasn't just a random selection, she had been looking for me, and I was the one she wanted. Surprised by this revelation, I found myself staring at Sophia. Unable to stand the tension, I asked a question. Why are you close with Samantha? Upon hearing this, Sophia smiled thinly. My parents are divorced. It felt like I had asked something I shouldn't have, unsure how to respond. My parents were always busy too, we hardly talked, I tried to reply. Sophia smiled faintly again. Before they divorced, it was really tough. I went off the rails then. That's when I met Samantha. Just hanging out and having fun without thinking about anything. I thought if I lost Samantha and the others, I'd have nowhere else to go. So I really put effort into my makeup and clothes. I see. Searching for a place to belong, was Samantha that place? Couldn't there have been somewhere else? My grandmother died around the time of my parents' divorce. I used to be sent to stay with my grandmother whenever my parents fought. With both my parents divorcing and my grandmother gone, I ran away from everything. That's why I'm really grateful to Samantha. If it weren't for them at that time, who knows what would have happened. Oh, but I'm thinking of moving on from the makeup soon. If your grandmother saw this makeup, she'd faint, I teased. With that, she jumped up in a panic. Just thinking about it scares me. I loved her because she was so kind, but she was very strict. I see. Your good posture is thanks to your grandmother's upbringing, then, I remarked. As I said this, her spine stretched even taller, and her face turned bright red. I suddenly felt a kinship with her, and my guard came down. My parents were always busy with work, too. It was pretty much my grandparents who raised me. I get it. Grandmothers are super strict but also incredibly kind. As I expressed empathy, Sophia's face lit up with joy. That car is actually a keepsake from my grandfather. He cherished it so much, and I wanted to keep it. I turned towards the parking lot, my thoughts lingering on my beloved old car. Robert, you really are. As I turned toward her voice, Sophia was facing me with a serene expression. You're a wonderful person. You care about your grandfather and you're kind. I blushed and looked down, embarrassed by her straightforward compliment. I want to wait until you like me back. I finally found you. I don't want to give up. Is there absolutely no chance? Honestly, my impression of her had changed considerably since we first met. For the better. Much better. But then, I suddenly remembered. The women who approached me during my student days. As soon as they realized I wasn't what they expected, they drifted away. Give me some time to think. That was all I could manage to say. Months later. Sorry for making you wait. I just couldn't tie this ribbon properly, does it look okay? Sophia twirled in front of me in her dress. It looks fine, but it might come undone if you move too much. Hearing this, she suddenly straightened her back, startled. I won't get too excited. But she gently took my hand. Is it okay if I hold your hand? She looked up at me with those big eyes. I was probably blushing all the way to my ears. Today was our fireworks date. At that same park where we had apparently first met. Yes, I had decided to date Sophia. After that day, we parted ways. Sophia was persistent. She'd call or message whenever there was a chance. Somehow, she had managed to set up dates without me even realizing. Samantha kept teasing me, "Sophia has changed. Are you guys dating? Just date her already." Sophia had gradually become more herself around Samantha. I didn't need Samantha to tell me, but by that time I had fallen in love with Sophia, who I felt comfortable with. Sophia was talkative and cheerful. Of course, she never got upset even when I couldn't speak well. Recently, even the silences felt comfortable. That's why I was worried. Whether to let Sophia know everything about me as I truly am. After watching the fireworks, as we were moving through the crowd, Sophia noticeably slowed down. I looked down and saw that the tops of her feet were red. It seemed the straps of her sandals had rubbed her skin raw again. Unfortunately, I didn't have any band-aids with me today. Sophia was supposed to have brought some, but they were nowhere to be found, possibly dropped somewhere. It looked like it would be difficult to get her back to her apartment by train. Maybe this is a good opportunity. I muttered softly, and Sophia tilted her head in confusion. Feeling a sudden closeness, I suggested, "My place is nearby, should we go there?" Sophia reacted with exaggerated surprise. In the months we had been seeing each other, I had never once invited her over to my home. While I had stopped by her place a few times when dropping her off, I had never hosted her at mine. She seemed a bit sad about this. The reason I hesitated to invite her over. It was because. Wait, is this high-rise yours? That was the reason. Wait, you work at the same company as Samantha, right? How can you afford the rent here? I invited a stunned Sophia inside and tended to her feet. What did Samantha tell you about me? Sophia recounted as she remembered. Well, she said you were plain, serious, always brought your lunch, and seemed like you didn't have much money. She even wondered if I still wanted you. What a description. But that was fine. That was the kind of person I was striving to become. I am plain and serious, but my investments have done well, and I have a decent amount of money. Enough to buy a high-rise as a tax strategy. I explained. Sophia's eyes widened even more. Why didn't you tell me until now? She squeezed out a perfectly reasonable question. In one word, distrust. My parents were successful in business, remember? I told you they were always busy. That meant a lot of money was around. I don't live lavishly, but somehow people find out about such things. People would befriend me. And when they realized they couldn't get money out of me, they'd call me boring and exclude me. I went out with a girl because she said, "I like your kindness," and then she asked me for expensive brand name goods for her birthday and Christmas. I didn't have that kind of allowance. So when I refused, they'd call me lame and break up with me. Eventually, I realized they were only after my parents' money. And I couldn't trust anyone anymore, I confessed. Sophia looked like she was about to cry. What about your parents? They handed over their business and are enjoying their retirement abroad. Didn't you take over the business? A natural question. Maybe it was out of stubbornness. I didn't want to simply inherit my parents' success. It didn't suit me. I said awkwardly, looking down. The business was in trade, involving a lot of travel and socializing, which I found difficult. So, I thought I'd support my parents by learning about investments, helping them from behind the scenes. They probably knew I was struggling. They decided to hand the business over to someone else and told me to live freely. I was told I could just let it be, but that didn't really matter to me. I used all the money I received from my parents for college and job start gifts on investments. Whether it was beginner's luck or the payoff of my studies, it worked out. My parents often said, "Why don't you spend more lavishly?" But I've never been comfortable with extravagant spending. My parents are abroad, and we hardly communicate now. But I was loved by my grandparents. Even if my parents were busy and friends or lovers drifted away, I wanted to stand on my own 2 feet. Enough of that story. More importantly, Sophia, now that you know the truth about me, what do you think? Sophia looked at me, startled. Perhaps she thought she had struck it rich. Or that I had been awful for deceiving her. Or that I hadn't trusted her enough to share this for so long. However, Sophia surprised me with a response I hadn't anticipated. "I'm not a match for you." A question mark appeared in my mind. I decided to ask her directly. "What do you mean?" Tears began to fall from Sophia's eyes. "I'm not a match for you. You come from such a respectable family. You've experienced loneliness yet didn't lash out and drop out. You went to university. You even learned investing to support your parents and stood on your own without frivolously using their money." I felt like crying too. There had been times when I thought about spending my parents' money freely. Everyone around me expected that of me. But it was my beloved grandparents who stopped me. And now, out of respect for them, I am careful about how I use the surplus money I have. I felt that Sophia had acknowledged this. However, the silence as I pondered this was interpreted differently by Sophia. "See, I really don't match up. A high school graduate and former delinquent can't even meet your parents. I'm sorry, I should go. I won't contact you anymore." Leaving a bewildered me behind, Sophia quickly exited my apartment. It was all so sudden that I just stared dumbfounded in the direction she had gone. "Pull yourself together, me. It's not like that." I shouted toward the door Sophia had left through and dashed out without a second thought. I might never meet a woman like Sophia again. Images of the Sophia I knew flashed through my mind like a slideshow. Always bright, often laughing, and her posture was always impeccable. Her way of eating was so graceful that I often found myself mesmerized. She seemed to feel complex about her troubled past, but to me, she was always beautiful, no matter the circumstances. I wanted to embrace that troubled her. Since that can no longer happen, I want to embrace her of now, forever. I caught up with Sophia, and all these words that I had uttered at once became the words of a proposal from me to her. My name is Andrew. I'm 26 years old and work for a major pharmaceutical company. As a medical representative, I visit hospitals every day, and it's exhausting. I graduated from Faculty of Pharmacy, but somehow I didn't feel like being a pharmacist was right for me. I can't stand being in the same place all the time, so I thought it would be better to work outside the office. Being an MR is a decently paying job, and I can fully utilize my knowledge of pharmacy. I have a senior colleague who chose to be an MR instead of a pharmacist, and he seemed to enjoy it. Tentatively, I passed the national pharmacy exam, but I chose the path of an MR. Both of my parents work in the medical field. So, I was somewhat interested in medical too, but I wasn't smart enough to pass the medical school entrance exams, so I gave up. Well, I have a brilliant older brother called Tom, so I thought, well, it's alright, and didn't worry too much. My dad was a doctor at the university hospital, but later he opened his own practice. It's a pediatric clinic. So, I thought Tom would take over. My mom has always been a nurse at the university hospital. Apparently, my parents met in the university. My dad graduated from the medical school, and my mom from the nursing school. They got along in the same club. As for me, I didn't have a girlfriend during the university time. In fact, I've never had a girlfriend in my life. Actually, there was a girl I liked in high school, but I was completely rejected when I confessed. Since then, I've become shy and unable to even speak to women. And now, I'm too busy with work and no time to think about having a girlfriend. Tom, who is 4 years older, just got married, and he looked very happy, and my sister-in-law, Beth, was smiling too. Beth is also a nurse. By the way, Tom works at our father's clinic. Well, just as I thought, Tom took over, so our father must be relieved. Oh man, I wish I had a girlfriend too. But I'm too busy with work to even think about dating. What should I do? Will I end up never having a girlfriend or getting married? I was thinking to myself. Just then, I got a message from my classmate Jason. We've been friends since middle school, and he's currently working in international finance. He's always seemed a bit snobby, but he invited me to a party, so I decided to go. Soon, we're having a party with some cute girls. You should come too. Well, you don't seem like you earn much money, so they might not be interested in you. It's not that I don't earn good money, but yeah, it's probably less compared to someone working in international finance. Alright, I'll come. When's the party? I know it's short notice, but this Saturday. One of the guys can't make it, so you're just making up the numbers. But come anyway. What a way to put it. That really annoys me. I thought. Okay. Then send me the time and the location by text. Yeah, I'll send it later. See ya. And so, I headed to the party on Saturday. The stylish bar they picked looked kind of pricey. It seemed more like a small diner than a bar. It was an upscale place where I had been once for a business dinner. When I entered, there were already 3 ladies, Jason and another man I didn't know. According to Jason, this man also works in international finance. After ordering some drinks and food, we introduced ourselves. One of the ladies was exactly my type, very classy. My name is Summer, and I'm a nurse. Nice to meet you. Wow, a nurse? No wonder you seem so kind. Summer, you're totally my type. Hey, give me a shot too. Please, can you? Well. Ooh, what's with this guy? He's creepy. Summer looks uncomfortable. What a weirdo. I thought. Despite Summer clearly being uncomfortable, Jason and another guy, Michael, kept making inappropriate comments to her. To other ladies, they acted the same ways. Surely, they must have come off as creepy to everyone there. Then, Jason started bragging about himself. I'm Jason. I work at Silverman Sachs, a foreign financial firm. My annual income is over $100,000. Well, that's to be expected. I'm a capable guy. You know. I even graduated from a pretty good university. Oh, you want to know? Well, it's S University, you know it, right? It's a famous private university. I had good grades there too. And right now, I'm really into futsal. Plus, I've been playing basketball since middle school. I may not look it, but I'm a sportsman, so I'm a gentleman. And for hobbies, I'd say reading. A capable man starts his day early, right? I wake up early and read self-improvement books and business books. Yeah, I'm a bookworm. Geez, it's too long. The girls don't care at all. There are no good people who like self-help. Really annoying. I thought. Jason's introduction was excessively long, and he continued to talk about unasked things. Michael, the other guy, was also boastfully talking about himself. Apparently, he takes pride in having graduated from the prestigious H University. From my perspective, these guys ignoring the girls and just talking among themselves seemed utterly foolish. My name's Andrew, and I work as an MR at a pharmaceutical company. Well, it's a sales job. Nice to meet you. This guy here, his father and brother are doctors, but he couldn't make it as one. Probably because he wasn't smart enough. Excuse me? You studied at Faculty of Pharmacy because you had no choice, right? And even then, not being a pharmacist is kinda a loser. Pathetic, right? Being a pharmacist is like a woman's job anyway. Men in Faculty of Pharmacy are losers. I think MR suits me better, and I wanted to do it. I don't need you to say such rude things. Making excuses won't help. Anyway, you won't get any attention from the girls. You can't compete with me. Isn't that right, Michael? Jason and Michael were laughing, but the girls looked at them coldly. Summer was being hit on by Jason but clearly rejected him. I'm sorry, but I don't want to exchange contacts with you, Jason. Why not? Won't you text me and date me? I will send lovey-dovey messages every day and want to talk to you on the phone too. Come on, why not? I'm sad. Do you enjoy belittling people like this? You're really the worst. I don't want to be close to someone like you, Jason. Hearing you talk badly about Andrew made me feel sick. What? What's wrong with me? I'm an elite working in international finance. If we were together, I could buy you anything you want. Look. Necklaces or earrings that would suit you, Summer, anything really. I'm allergic to metal, so no thank you. Then, I'll treat you to some good food. How about that? Or maybe you'd like a Channel bag? I think it would suit you. I prefer to eat what I want on my own, and I'm not interested in high-end brands like Channel, sorry. I don't want it. What? Not cute at all. Fine, I'm leaving. Come on, Michael, let's go. Jason left in anger. Michael followed him, leaving the rest of us behind. I decided to just have a good time with everyone and ended up getting completely drunk. Eventually, Rachel, a kindergarten teacher, and Lisa, a secretary, went off to a bar together, leaving me and Summer alone. Or rather, I was so drunk I couldn't handle myself, so Summer took care of me. She took me to a park and sat me on a bench. If you feel sick, it might be better to throw up once. I'll wait outside the restroom, so knock loudly on the door if you need anything. No, it's okay. The nausea has gone. That's good, then let's drink some water. It's easy to get dehydrated after drinking alcohol. There's a vending machine over there. So I'll go buy some. Oh, sorry about this. Summer, wearing low-heeled pumps, jogged to the vending machine and came back with a bottle of water for me, opening the cap. Here, make sure you drink this. Let's stay here a little until the alcohol wears off. It's a bit chilly, but the breeze is nice. Yeah, that's true. I'm fine, but how about you, Summer? Are you okay with the time? Do you have work or anything tomorrow? Yes, I live alone and my shift starts in the evening tomorrow, so it's fine. Thank you for your concern. I see, sorry for keeping you until late. I guess I got carried away with the drinking. No, I had fun thanks to you trying to liven up the atmosphere at that time. But I should have cautioned you about drinking too much. Look. Getting taken to the hospital for acute alcohol poisoning would be serious. Yeah. At the company's welcome party for new employees, I was also pressured to drink a lot. That kind of thing is banned now. Yes, it used to be tough back in the day. Some men would go to the bathroom but couldn't pee, it happens more often to men. Be careful. It can be really painful. I really appreciated how thoughtful she was as a nurse. Nurses probably have a tough time during the season of welcome parties for new employees or university farewell parties. Getting so rowdy that you can't even pee when you go to the bathroom would be the worst, so I decided to be more careful. If only that, it's fine, but it would be even worse if I fell and hit my head. I have to be careful of over-drinking. From now on, I need to make sure I don't get too carried away. After that, I started meeting Summer occasionally. Since she helped me out at that time, I wanted to treat her to a meal, and we've been on several dates since then. Summer always enjoys her food so much, so it's my pleasure to invite her out. I really enjoyed our date today. That restaurant was fantastic, with the ocean view and all, it was really refreshing. How did you find such a place? Yeah, Summer, you said you liked the ocean, so I looked it up online. It was featured in a blog post, and I thought it looked great, so I booked it. Hey! How about we go on a date to the aquarium next time? You like animals, right? Yes, I love beluga whales and penguins. Let's go next time. I haven't been to an aquarium in ages. I've been a bit busy. Then the next date, we will go to the aquarium. Looking forward to it. We were already in a relationship after confessing to each other. But it wasn't serious yet, just a casual boyfriend-girlfriend thing. Thinking about Summer, I started to find myself wanting to be with her forever. How happy would I be if Summer were not just my girlfriend, but my wife? I even thought about sending a bragging email back to Tom, who occasionally sends me one about his blissful married life. Tom isn't a bad guy, but his love for his wife really shows. I think his wife is lucky to be so loved, and I'm jealous of the elaborate meals she cooks for him every day. Oh, I also want to get married and be even happier and happier. Our parents think I've always been single and probably won't ever get married. But I also want a normal life with a family of my own. I wanted my parents and brother to be relieved. 3 months later, Summer's birthday came. The season was already summer. Born in the summer, hence her name is Summer. When we met at the party in April, it was a bit chilly, but now it's summer, so it's really muggy. Today, I went out to meet Summer at the Alamo Cube for our date. Summer was wearing a floral dress with white pumps. For now, we were heading to a 3-star restaurant. And I told Summer that I wanted us to move on to a serious relationship. From now on, can we change our relationship to one based on the premise of marriage? If you ever get tired of me, feel free to dump me. I want to know more about you, Summer, and make memories together at many places. Andrew. Thank you, I'm really happy. Let's consider marriage, shall we? And so, we moved our relationship forward with marriage in mind, getting to know each other better than before. The more I got to know about Summer, the more I fell for her. It seems Summer felt the same way. Once, we went on a short trip together and created fun memories. At a tourist spot, we asked a passerby to take a photo of us, and we both had great smiles on. Clearly showed that we were having a good time. This picture became one of my favorites, and it was developed and framed in my room. One day, while having dinner with my parents, my mom suddenly said, "You've been going out a lot lately. What are you up to? Isn't it about time you got a girlfriend? Are you just hanging out with your classmates again?" Seriously. Tom already got married. That's right, you're at a good age to have a girlfriend. That's the thing, I already have one. What? You've been unpopular your whole life and now you have a girlfriend? It's none of your business. I'm in a serious relationship now. I'm not a kid anymore, and I'm thinking about the future without you telling me. I thought you were just working all the time with no time for personal life. Wow, you with a girlfriend, that's a relief for me. That's kind of rude. Dad and Mom, sometimes you say things in an annoying way. Really? I never thought it seemed that way. We're only saying this because we care about you. We thought you'd be single forever. Perhaps my parents aren't aware of it, but they can be a bit annoying. Not sure if they're just overly protective or naturally meddlesome. Or maybe they're just being naturally dense. I sometimes found them annoying. They're not bad people, but they irritate me sometimes. I went back to my room and brought out the framed photo. I'm still living at home at my age because the rent in New York is so high it helps save money. Look at this. This is my girlfriend, Summer. Isn't she pretty? What's the matter? Why are you surprised? Could it be, is Summer's last name Garcia? Oh, I know this girl. Because she was under my care. Wait, what do you mean by that? Look, see the beaded ring on Summer's right hand? I gave that to her a long time ago. Ah, she always wears that ring. I asked her why once, and she said it was from someone important to her from the past. Wait, Mom. You gave it to her? Yes, she was ill. She spent a long time in the pediatric ward of the university hospital. What? Summer was sick? Yes, she was hospitalized with leukemia. She must be in remission now. Leukemia is considered treatable these days, unlike before. Right, I remember you were into bead crafts back then. So that's when you gave it to her. Yes, she loved crafts but became too weak to do them because of her illness, so I took up making accessories and gave her that ring as a charm. That was it, huh? What a revelation. It's good to see her looking so healthy now. I'm glad she's better. Mom was in tears. I had no idea about this, and I thought the ring Summer always wore on her right hand was just from a friend or someone. Summer looks very healthy now, and she's working as a nurse. So, it seems her illness is better now. Actually, Summer said she went into the medical path because she was saved by someone in her past. Turns out, it was you, Mom. Oh my, she remembered me to that extent. Such a small girl back then, and now she's grown up so wonderfully. Summer is now working hard every day as a nurse. I'm glad I have met her. She's really amazing. I met her at a party where she took care of me when I was drunk. There's no one as kind as her. Maybe she didn't want me to worry about her past illness, or maybe she thought I would break up with her if she told me. Silly. I would never do that. Summer. Thank you for being well. Andrew, you really did find a wonderful girlfriend. As parents, we're relieved. And your charm worked, didn't it? It's good that you learned those crafts. Yes, I'm so glad I learned them. I'm so happy she's kept it all this time. Before we knew it, we were all crying. Especially Mom, her face a mess with tears, using up a ton of tissues. Even my face was a mess with tears and snot. Perhaps Summer was indeed being considerate by not speaking about her past. But even knowing she was sick, I never thought about breaking up. On the contrary, seeing her overcome a serious illness and work hard as a nurse, I respected and loved her even more. Surely, kind Summer didn't speak up because she thought it might trouble me. But I'm afraid that her illness might recur, so I want to hear from Summer about her current health condition. One day, I called Summer to the park where she had taken care of me. Summer came to the park at night in casual clothes. What's going on? What's this important discussion about? Well, I need to hear it from you, Summer. So, that. Wait. Are you trying to break up? No, I want to be with you, Andrew. Did I do something wrong? Just sit down and calm down. Here's a can of coffee. Hey, that ring, you wear it all the time except at work, right? Yes, as a nurse, I can't wear nails or jewelry, so I wear it all the time except when I'm working. It stays in my bag then. I see. So, what about this ring? Well, my mom gave it to you. Remember and the nurse. Oh. Anne? Yeah, you know her. That makes sense because she was the nurse at the hospital where you were hospitalized for leukemia. Remember? At T University Hospital? Yes. Summer fell silent. Perhaps she thought I'd be upset knowing she was sick. Summer was looking down, so I couldn't read her facial expression. She clutched the can of coffee tightly, not moving at all. I'm not angry, and I actually admire you, Summer, for overcoming your illness. But for the future, just in case, I want to know about your health or any troubles you might be having. After all, I'm going to be your husband. Wait, does that mean, like, marriage? I'm sorry the proposal came out this way. But I want to be with you forever, Summer, and I want you to stay healthy. As a husband, it's important to be aware of my wife's health condition, right? I'd be in trouble if something happened. I'm fine right now. I can live almost like anyone else, so don't worry. If anything bothers me, I'll definitely tell you. Really? So, you're not having any troubles now and you're healthy? Ah, Summer. I'm really glad I met you. My mom praised you for being such a hard worker. Dad also said he's sure you're a wonderful lady. You should come over to our house sometime soon. Okay, I'll visit then. Let's work hard to be a good married couple. Though it was an unusual way to propose, I managed to convey my love to Summer. First, I went to Summer's parents' house to introduce myself. Her parents were very calm and seemed very sincere. My parents were serious about their work too, but they were quite laid back in their private lives, something I wish they would learn from. It was clear that Summer was dearly loved as she grew up. I inferred this from the way her parents spoke. After that, I took Summer to my parents' house. She seemed a bit nervous, standing frozen in front of the house. Andrew, your father is a doctor, right? Wow, such a respectable house. I wonder if someone from a common background like me could be accepted here. Don't worry about that, let's go inside. Okay. We arrived at my parents' house on a Sunday afternoon after our date. When I opened the door, my parents came to greet us. It was perfect timing since neither of them was working that day. Thank you for having us. Oh, Summer, you've grown up so much. Come in, come in. When I heard you were Andrew's girlfriend, I was quite surprised. Come on in, come in. Thank you very much. It's great to see you so healthy. I'd been worried about you ever since then, wondering how you were doing while I worked. Thank you for your concern. Since then, my illness has improved, and I can live a normal life now. I work just like anyone else. Because you took such good care of me, I wanted to become a nurse too and went to nursing school. That's wonderful to hear. I'm really glad, Mom. It's the best feeling to see a patient doing well. Yes, I'm glad you're doing well, Summer. And you still treasure that ring, even though it was such a clumsy piece, you even wear it today. Oh no, it's beautifully made. I was so happy when you made it for me when I was too sick to do crafts myself. I've treasured it ever since. It's practically a part of me now. I wear it all the time except when I'm working. I'm glad to hear that, it was worth making it. Surely, it's thanks to this charm that I got so much better and could fulfill my dream of becoming a nurse. I am truly grateful. Thank you, my future mother-in-law. Oh dear, don't be so formal. Just call me Mom. Then, Mom it is. I always wanted a daughter like you in the house. Eh? That's news to me. Were you thinking about a third child? Yes, but after having your brother and you, and developed infertility issues. That's why we gave up on having a third. I never knew that. I didn't know that Mom wanted a third child or that she had fertility issues. I suppose she cried only in front of Dad. Infertility means the inability to sustain a pregnancy. Though Mom had Tom and me, it seems she thought it was just a fluke. Infertility is not the same as being unable to conceive. It means you can get pregnant but can't sustain the pregnancy. And it doesn't necessarily start with the first child. Summer explained this to me. She is a nurse specializing in obstetrics. Mom, you've been through so much too. If it's okay with you, please treat me as your daughter-in-law and ask me for anything. What a good girl. Ah, Summer becoming Andrew's wife, it's like a miracle. Andrew, you better cherish her more, or you'll be cursed. That's right, such an admirable person becoming your wife, you need to try even harder. I understand. From now on, let's support each other as a family. If you ever have any troubles, just say it. And if Andrew turns out to be a deadbeat, feel free to scold him. Since both of you work, make sure you share the housework, Andrew. Andrew is kind, so I'm sure it'll be fine. And with that, we got married. Somehow Jason heard that I had gotten married and was incredibly upset. But whatever he said, I didn't care because I'm very happy now. It seems that after that, Jason was rejected by the girl he confessed to. Apparently, his cheating was discovered. Thinking what a fool, I couldn't help but smirk. Well, I decided to forget about Jason since he doesn't matter. Afterward, Summer and I had our wedding ceremony, and I was so happy that everyone celebrated with us. Isn't it great that everyone is celebrating? I'm so glad I married you, Summer. Me too, I'm really happy to get married to you. And to be able to reunite and express my gratitude to your mom, who took care of me. I've always treasured the charm ring. It has always been with me, almost like a part of my body, filled with your mother's love. My mom was really happy too. She thinks of you like her own daughter. If you ever have any trouble, tell me. I'm always on your side. Yes, I'm on your side too. I'll always be here for you. We felt truly blessed by everyone at our beautiful wedding ceremony. I thought I had never been as happy in my life as I was then. But even happier events were yet to come. It was a year and a half after we got married. When Summer started experiencing changes in her health, I worried that her illness might be acting up again. But it was something else entirely. Summer was pregnant. And then, she gave birth to our baby. I'm so happy, it feels like a dream to meet such a cute baby. I've finally become the mom I always wanted to be. Yeah, you are a mom and I'm a dad. Let's do our best in raising our child together. Yes, I'll do my best to be a good mom. And don't work too hard, okay? Yeah, I know. Summer went back to her parents' house for a while, but her mom and my mom visited several times. Summer also received help from her parents, which must have been helpful. My mom also checked on her from time to time. Mom maintained a good distance with Summer, making sure not to be too intrusive. I felt blessed to be loved by both my mother-in-law and father-in-law. I really think I married into a good family. Yeah, Mom would be really happy to hear that. Summer has always been cherished by my parents. She's friendly and charming, which is probably why she's so beloved. And being polite, she's naturally liked. As time went on, I grew older. Summer and I are now middle-aged. Our daughter Samantha is now a university student. She is studying nursing at university. It seems she decided to become a nurse as well, inspired by her mother and grandmother who are nurses. I worked hard for my daughter. I didn't know what career she would want in the future, and I wanted to save enough for her tuition. Even if my boss ridiculed me or my colleagues tried to hold me back, I never gave up. My efforts were recognized, and I got promoted and received a managerial position. Now my salary is quite good, and I can provide well for my family. While we were never poor, having a family made me realize the need to push harder. I am proud to have a family. Surrounded by a hard-working, intelligent wife and a cheerful, energetic daughter, I am indeed a lucky man. I'm glad I ignored the ridicule from classmates back then and pushed through relentlessly. Summer remains healthy without any recurrence of her illness. Though we have aged, we both continue to work hard and lead fulfilling lives. I am proud of Summer, who loves working as a nurse. She is hardworking and diligent, and I aspire to emulate her as we spend the rest of our lives together. You shouldn't bother going to a matchmaking party you're not excited about. Especially when it's just to make up the numbers. I knew that, but somehow I ended up attending that day. It felt like fate played a prank on me with the meeting that awaited. I'm Alex, 28 years old. I have a bit of an unusual job. Even though I have an unusual job, it's not that I'm bad with people or that I dislike them. I have a fair number of friends, and girlfriends are always around. It seems I'm less attached than others. I've never had a long-term relationship. Probably, there's something wrong with me. I usually don't think too deeply about it, just shrug it off with an "oh well" again. Because of this, I'm often teased by female friends as being cold. That day, I was a bit irritated as work wasn't going as planned. My work clothes were dirtier than usual, a sign that my frustration was out of the ordinary. At that moment, I got a call from an old college friend, Jason. "Alex, can you come to a matchmaking party? Someone who was supposed to come got sick, and we're short on people." Jason said it in his usual light tone. He has been known as a matchmaking party pro since our college days. He's got a wide network and is guaranteed to organize a successful event. Since college, he has been responsible for many marriages through his parties. With my hands dirty, I turned my phone on speaker, sat down on the workbench, and lit a cigarette. This is sudden as always. It looks like I don't even have time to change. I exhaled a thin stream of smoke along with my words. Watching the elegant swirl of smoke in the air, I thought it looked beautiful. "The place is near your workshop. Just come as you are," he said. The place he mentioned is a slightly upscale French bistro. I visit it often because it's so close. I'm well acquainted with the owner there, so showing up in work clothes is nothing unusual. No problem at all. I'm in if you pay for it. I heard his clicking tongue through the speaker in response to my reply. "You're not broke, just always looking to take advantage." His reply, half joking as always. Nothing has changed since our college days. He indicated that the matchmaking party would start in 15 minutes. I told him I'd be a bit late and hung up. To shift my mood, I snuffed out my cigarette in an empty beer can and re-evaluated the day's work on my workbench. Not satisfied with anything. With a swing of my fist, I violently crushed the day's work. After confirming it had lost its original form, I sighed deeply. Another day wasted. My profession, a sculptor. That's my title. The crushed piece was now just a lump of clay. Not a slump. I reassured myself as I left the studio. The matchmaking party would be a nice change of pace. I was fed up with myself, wishing, somewhere in the depths of my heart, that it were so. I wondered if I should at least change my clothes, even if it was just to make up the numbers. But I decided to head to the restaurant where the party was to be held in my work clothes. Jason mentioned that he had gathered mostly secretaries for the event. I was curious to see how they'd react to my attire. When I arrived, everyone was already there, and Jason informed me they had just finished toasting. The other male attendees were in suits, fresh from work. Some even wore lawyer badges. Apparently, he had gathered a well-paid crowd today. "Sorry, I'm late." I briefly apologized and took a seat in an empty seat. From behind the open kitchen counter, the chef who owned this restaurant saw me and lightly raised his hand to greet me. I nodded back subtly. "This is my college friend, Alex. He's also 28, same as me." Jason introduced me to the women attending. That was the first time I saw the attending women, and to say the least, they were impressive. Their makeup and nails were immaculately done. Their slender, pale fingers looked as if they'd never touched a household chore. A tilt of their heads released a soft floral fragrance. All of them were equally beautiful and charming, speaking in high, gentle voices. The woman sitting diagonally across from me was particularly striking. I sipped the beer that had been brought to me as I thought about the fact that such a beautiful woman would also attend a matchmaking party. For a while, I didn't join in on the conversation, focusing instead on quenching my dry throat. During this time, I noticed something. The exceptionally beautiful woman sitting diagonally across was intentionally avoiding looking at me. She was clearly ignoring me. Apparently, she had no interest in a guy in dirty work clothes. To say she was uninterested would be an understatement. It seemed more like she harbored a slight disgust towards me. "Alex, you don't have a girlfriend right now, do you?" Caught off guard, I responded with a dull "Nope." That's when the beautiful woman across finally looked my way. A little too much makeup, but still beautiful. As I recalled, her name was Jessica. "Surprising you've ever had a girlfriend." She suddenly turned her attention to me. Her eyes looked at me almost as if I were a stray dog. "Well, I've had a girlfriend now and then," I replied nonchalantly, facing her overt hostility. Despite the tense atmosphere between Jessica and me, the guy sitting next to her seemed completely unaware. He was engrossed in conversation with the woman sitting in front of him. It appeared that Jessica was displeased with his lack of attention, resulting in her bad mood. In short, it was her taking it out on me. "Look around you. Don't you see how out of place you are?" She smirked in a mocking way. It seemed her comment was directed at the fact that I was sitting here in my work clothes. I wasn't told there was a dress code. You know what common sense tells you? You're coming to a party with us. It's rude. Her voice grew louder. The other members started to notice our quarrel. "Oh wait, Jessica. I asked Alex to come over on short notice. And the reason we're wearing suits is because this is our work attire. Alex is just dressed for work as well." Jason tried to mediate between us, half-jokingly. Still, she didn't stop belittling me. "You know what? Let me be the first to clarify something you all are too kind to say." She said this as she looked around at the other women. It seemed she positioned herself as the queen bee among the group. Everyone avoided eye contact with Jessica. "Why don't you go home, you poor guy?" In a mocking tone, Jessica snapped at me. That comment finally got to me. No sooner had I opened my mouth to say something back, than I heard a clank and the pull of a chair. "Then, I will be leaving." A woman stood up and said so. She was the woman the man had been eagerly hitting on, while ignoring Jessica. She was a bit mysterious, with a subtle, low-toned makeup that suited her well. "What? I let you participate out of kindness, and this is the attitude I get? Who do you think you are?" Her anger redirected toward her. But Jessica's anger didn't seem to matter to her. "I am here by order of you, in other words, my boss. If I am allowed to leave, I would like to do so immediately." Her voice was low and calm. "Oh no, Sophie. Please don't tell me you're leaving when you rarely even join us for drinks." Jason raised his voice, trying to stop her from leaving. It appeared that he was also interested in her. "Jason, it was a brief but very pleasant time for me. But I hope you understand that any more of this time means nothing to me and my service overtime has come to an end." Without a hint of a smile, she addressed Jason, then placed a few $100 bills on the table and walked out. It all happened in a flash. Overwhelmed by her demeanor, I just gaped, watching her walk away. "What's with that attitude? I'll tell my mom about this when I get home." Jessica grumbled in frustration and downed her glass of wine in one go. It seemed that they had connections beyond just work. "Who was that woman? You called her Sophie, right?" I quietly asked Jason. Her name was Sophie. It turned out she was actually Jessica's secretary. Jessica was her boss. After that, Jessica's mood quickly improved as she was able to talk leisurely with the man she favored because Sophie was no longer there. The man seemed displeased, but she was oblivious. I finished 2 beers and made up an excuse to leave the matchmaking party early. I had no interest in what happened after I left. The only person I was interested in at the party was Sophie, who had left promptly. We hadn't exchanged a single word, and I didn't know her contact details. Probably, I'll never see her again. A week has passed since the matchmaking party. Nothing in my daily life has changed. Jason contacted me to apologize afterwards. It seems that the matchmaking party was arranged at Jessica's request. Probably because the man she was interested in was going to be there. He asked me to join again, but I felt like avoiding it for a while. Some things seemed tedious, and most importantly, the work was overwhelming. On the workbench, the smashed clay was still there after a week. I just couldn't bring myself to redo it, so I opened my computer to check my emails. I accepted job requests via email. Whether sculpting prototypes or crafting final pieces, I only took on work that I genuinely liked. Since I was not affiliated with any company, I believed I was entitled to this bit of self-indulgence. But the job that was stuck in front of me at the time was not one I was willing to accept. It was a job referred by my mentor, which I couldn't refuse. I thought it was understandable that I didn't feel good about it. The task involved researching to create a statue of a particular individual. That was the job currently causing me distress. Moreover, all they gave me was one photo. And the photo was like a passport photo. It was impossible to grasp his personality from such a photo. A bust might be manageable, but a full body statue would have been difficult. No choice but to go and see for myself. I muttered to myself, trying to muster some motivation. I threw on a coat over my work clothes and headed out. My destination was a private museum. It's a museum owned by an entrepreneur who has collected various artworks. The statue of Charles Harrison, the founder of this museum. My job was to create his statue. To understand his personality, I visited the museum he founded. The museum was located deep within a forest that was artificially constructed. The museum, with its white walls and large windows, was striking. During a weekday afternoon, the place was quiet, with few visitors. The exhibits, divided between paintings and sculptures, were breathtakingly serene and beautiful. His taste in art clearly was refined. I had heard he was a demanding person, but I felt that shouldn't be the sole focus of the statue. It was against my principles to create something that only cut out a part of a multifaceted human being. I wanted to know more. Desperately, I examined the exhibits, searching for fragments of his essence. Oh my gosh, look who's here. I recognized you right away by your dirty work clothes. A voice from behind startled me, and I turned around. There stood Jessica, arms crossed, dressed in a suit. I didn't know you had a taste for fine art. Excuse me? This is my workplace. She pointed at a security camera that was monitoring the museum. Apparently, she had seen me on the monitor. I really wished she would just leave me alone. Ah, so this is your workplace? Yes. I'm the deputy director here. Would you like a tour? Surprisingly, she was the deputy director of the museum. A name badge around her neck bore her name and title. No thank you. I'd prefer to look around quietly. I turned my back to her, focusing on the artworks. Behind me, she clicked her heels in irritation. Jessica, the chief curator, Fred, is waiting for your approval. That low and calm voice reached my ears. I instinctively turned around. There stood Sophie. She was wearing a long, tight skirt suit and a thin silver necklace. Her modest makeup was the same as at the matchmaking party. She greeted me. Alex, I apologize for not properly introducing myself the other day. She said so and apologized. Wait, what's going on? What's this guy to you? Jessica suddenly started to panic at Sophie's demeanor. Jessica, this is Alex, the sculptor we've commissioned for the museum's statue. What? No way! Jessica exclaimed in surprise. I felt a bit embarrassed being introduced so formally. In reality, he's not the kind of person who would normally accept such a sudden request from our museum. Please show him the proper respect. As a representative of our institution. Sophie spoke calmly yet sternly, reprimanding Jessica with her gaze. Jessica's face visibly turned red. She probably felt humiliated. Oh thanks, but I'm not that type of person. I couldn't refuse a job from my mentor. I tried to respond cheerfully. However, unable to bear the embarrassment, Jessica glared at Sophie, then turned on her heel and fled from the exhibition room. She's still so childish, it's troubling. Sophie sighed softly as she watched Jessica leave. You mentioned you were her secretary, right? Yes, I work here as a secretary for both the director, Miranda, and the deputy director, Jessica. She then handed me her business card. She began to explain the reason she had commissioned the statue from me. Sophie mentioned that she had been deeply impressed by my solo exhibition. I was captivated by your solo exhibition at the gallery 2 years ago. I really wanted you to create the statue of Charles Harrison, our founder. I was somewhat embarrassed by her passionate words, which were different from those at the matchmaking party. She had heard from my mentor about the progress of the statue, and guessed that I would show up at the museum soon. Alex, I anticipated that you would want to learn more about Charles. Her prediction was spot on. I was a little frustrated and embarrassed knowing that she had read my actions. Please, let me introduce you to more about Charles. She smiled warmly at me. Who could resist such a smile? I sincerely responded, I'd appreciate that, thank you. I had assumed she would guide me inside the museum, but instead, she quickly led me outside. She then took me straight to the museum's backyard. This was his favorite spot. It was a small space surrounded by quiet groves. Only one modest bench was placed. I became certain that he was a person who loved tranquility in nature. She explained that he always read here. People at the top are lonely. He was no exception. The one who kept him company was. She gently handed me a photograph. At Charles's feet, a large dog lay sprawled. This dog had wandered into the forest as a stray. Sophie told me that raising a stray dog born into the wild was more difficult than we could have imagined. Always skittish, the dog could hardly walk straight even on a leash. It was Charles who had gently embraced and comforted the stray's fearful heart. He wasn't just a strict and ruthless businessman. I looked down at the photo again. Both the dog at his feet and Charles himself had calm expressions. This is a very peaceful place. I shared my genuine impression, and she nodded happily. Miranda and Jessica probably want a grand and stern statue of Charles, but I don't think such a statue fits this museum. She reiterated why she had chosen me for this task. I decided to meet Sophie's expectations as she stared straight at me. I braced myself. Something clicked in my mind. Thank you. I feel like I've had a breakthrough. I needed to get back to my studio before the image in my mind faded. Sensing my urgency, she nodded appreciatively, sending me off. I left in a rush, barely managing a proper goodbye to Sophie, and hurried back to my studio. Since visiting the museum, I'd been working nearly non-stop on the sculpture. Strict yet cold, kind yet solitary, Charles was a man of complex character. I focused intently on capturing the true essence of the elusive Charles. Again and again, I layered and smashed the clay, constantly experimenting. The finished miniature sculpture was incredible, even for me. I was sure Sophie would like it. She was the first person I wanted to show it to. I felt a surge of excitement welling up inside me. When I notified the museum that the prototype was complete, a clerk told me that Miranda and Jessica wanted to see it. They would be visiting my studio this afternoon. If they were coming, then Sophie, who is their secretary, would probably accompany them. Imagining her delighted face made me excited. This feeling was new to me, it was like waiting for a first love. I had fallen for Sophie. Probably since the moment she stood up at the matchmaking party. I thought this must be falling in love. Once I became aware of it, I couldn't help but feel embarrassed. Yet, I couldn't wait to see her again. The afternoon came, and a sleek black car pulled up in front of my studio. Jessica was the first to step out. Then, a woman who looked much like her followed. It was likely her mother, Miranda. I learned later that Jessica was Charles's granddaughter. Miranda was the wife of his eldest son. Their significant roles at the museum made sense. Thank you so much for visiting my studio. As I opened the door, Miranda and Jessica followed by Sophie, who nodded slightly behind them. So, it's finished, I hear. Jessica's haughty demeanor was unchanged. Miranda, who seemed just as brazen, unabashedly scrutinized me. I've been looking forward to this. As I led them into the studio, Miranda spoke. To her, Charles was her father-in-law. Miranda said he was a very strict man. Her tone was somewhat bitter, which took me by surprise. My grandfather was a strict and cold businessman. I've never seen him smile. Jessica seemed to agree with her mother. Apparently, Jessica's father had passed away. Miranda and Jessica continued to speak ill of Charles, their father-in-law and grandfather, respectively. Their attitude made it clear they held no respect for him. They seemed to have completely forgotten that their current lifestyle was thanks to him. While they gossiped, Sophie remained silent, lips tightly sealed. At the studio, I unveiled the prototype of the statue by removing the white cloth that had covered it, eager to see their reactions. My heart was beating a bit faster, curious about what they would say. After a brief silence, Jessica spoke up. "What the heck is this? This isn't right. I've never seen him look like this. Don't make things up." My sculpture of Charles was sitting comfortably in his chair with a gentle smile on his face. The book he was reading laid face down on his lap, and his dog looked up at Charles with a trusting eyes at his feet. Far from the stern and ruthless businessman image. I wanted to see Sophie's reaction. Turning towards her, I saw that she was quietly shedding tears. Miranda and Jessica, busy arguing loudly, hadn't noticed Sophie crying. Without raising her voice, Sophie simply cried quietly. "This is wrong. This isn't my grandfather. This isn't the grandfather I knew. Redo it." Jessica raised her hand, about to smash the clay model. Sophie restrained her hand from behind. "Let go of me," Jessica yelled. "I know this side of Charles. I can't believe that you guys, who are supposed to be part of the same family, don't know it." Her words made Jessica's cheeks flush with anger. Her blood must have rushed to her head in fury. "What do you know? A gentle person? That's a joke. Do you have any idea what my mother and I went through?" Shaking off the hand that held her, Jessica screamed at Sophie with a demonic expression. "That's because you guys were secretly trying to sell off the artworks." Sophie's words made the color drain from Jessica's face. "You think me and Grandpa didn't know that? My father, who was the second son, told me that I should take his side." Sophie revealed she was the daughter of Charles's second son. It appeared that Sophie and Jessica were cousins. Following the death of his eldest son, Charles began showing signs of dementia. It was then that Jessica and Miranda saw their opportunity. Without drawing attention, they schemed to sell the artworks Charles had collected, and indeed, some were sold, Sophie revealed. "My grandfather used to say, 'Why were you in such a hurry?' when they would inherit everything once he was gone." Sophie continued. "He was saddened that you didn't cherish his beloved artwork. It may be a difference in the way we value things, but there are a certain number of people who can only judge artworks by money." I didn't want to blame Jessica and her mother, but I wouldn't want my work judged by such their values. "Can't you see that the reason you didn't get to touch Grandpa's kind side was because of yourself?" Her words caused Jessica to visibly slump. In a small voice, she repeated, "It's not my fault. I'm not to blame. It's because Grandpa favored you. I just wanted to teach him a lesson," she exclaimed. Selling off precious things as a way of taking revenge. Was this Jessica's form of retaliation? "It's enough, Jessica," the museum director, her mother, said as she gently embraced Jessica, who was trembling with anger. "We would like you to continue with the statue as it is," she said, taking Jessica and leaving the studio. There must have been some conflict between Jessica and Charles. I never imagined it could have twisted this far. "Alex, thank you. I never imagined Grandfather could be revived in such a wonderful way," Sophie expressed her gratitude. "You wanted Jessica to know this side of him, didn't you?" I asked, noticing her surprise. Sophie relaxed, chuckled, and whispered, "You caught me." Sophie then explained that, unlike her, Jessica had been raised strictly as the eldest daughter of a legitimate family. Probably, Jessica had misunderstood Charles's affection. If this statue is placed in front of the museum, Jessica will have to face the gentle Charles every day. "I hope that the twisted image of him in her mind will be replaced by this kinder version," Sophie said. She extended her hand for a handshake. And I gladly accepted. "I think your cousin will be okay now. But more importantly, why don't we talk about our plans going forward?" Sophie looked up, surprised, her eyes were on me. I could see the reflection of me laughing in her big eyes. "Like, how about going out to dinner with me this weekend?" Her eyes widened even more. It was as if she was as startled as a deer in headlight. I wish you would say yes right away. I looked into her eyes and prayed in my heart. You've got some nerve, with your high school dropout status. We won't sign a contract with you. Get out immediately. Forget it. We're not interested either. You'll regret this, you subcontractors. Regret? I was about to retort when Emily gently patted me on the shoulder. Chris, that's enough. Let's leave. What? Yes, leave right now. You high school dropouts don't know your place. You're the one who doesn't know your place. You'll regret what happened today. Watch out, Mrs. Brown. With a sly smile, she turned away. My name is Chris. I work for a small textile manufacturer in a rural area. I started as a factory worker, but now I'm in sales. Our company, though small, is valued for producing fabrics for famous brands. We handle a wide range of textiles, from synthetic ones like polyester, polyurethane, and rayon to natural fibers like cotton and linen. I joined this company after dropping out of high school. There was a reason for leaving high school. My father was a police officer, and my mother was an elementary school teacher. But my father got involved in an incident and passed away. The stress from that event took its toll on my mother, and she fell ill and also passed away. I was taken in by my grandparents. But they were already living off their pension, and making ends meet was challenging. They encouraged me to at least finish high school. But with the household finances so tight, I gave up and decided to work. In those times, finding a job as a high school dropout was nearly impossible. I sent resumes to every company I could, and eventually, Mr. Johnson, CEO, from this manufacturer gave me an interview. When he asked why I had to work after dropping out of high school, I answered honestly, and he hired me as a factory worker on a part-time basis. Since then, he kept an eye on me and treated me like a son. A few years later, he made me a full-time employee and moved me from factory work to sales. Because of Mr. Johnson's generosity, I plan to dedicate my life to this company. For my late parents, the grandparents who raised me, and Mr. Johnson who supported me, I aim to live each day striving to become a better person. Then one day, a new employee joined us. Hi, I'm Emily. Looking forward to working with you. She was petite, without any makeup, and wore big round glasses. Her hair was styled in an unusual pigtail fashion. Overall, she gave a quiet impression. Surprisingly, she wanted to work as a factory hand. Most women at our company usually apply for office jobs. Factory work involves handling dangerous machinery, so it was unusual to see a woman seek it out. It became a topic among employees. At first, we wondered if she'd last, but our concerns were unfounded. Emily quickly adapted to machinery operation and learned rapidly. Her performance was well received. Chris, the materials for the upcoming negotiation are ready. I took the materials from Kate in the office and thanked her. But I sighed. The next Bussiness meeting that I will use these materials is with a major company called Shiny. Shiny is a popular fashion brand for high school and college girls, with stores nationwide and a robust online presence. Their new products are always in high demand, often selling out immediately. Shiny is a dream brand for many girls, known by everyone. A collaboration with a famous designer was also planned, and I had to negotiate and present on that. But I was dreading this negotiation because of who I'd be dealing with. Shiny's CEO, Mrs. Brown, handles the negotiations herself. She's a difficult partner, always looking down on subcontractors and taking a condescending attitude. It's hard to believe someone like her could be a CEO, but rumors say it's a family-run business, and she took over from her retired mother. We've worked together before, but every time she would criticize our company for having high school dropouts, making it hard to progress smoothly. Will it be like last time? Feeling uneasy, I was reading through the documents when Mr. Johnson spoke to me. Chris, Emily will accompany you to the negotiation with Shiny, so be prepared. What? Emily? Why is she coming along? I had other colleagues in the sales department, so why was she chosen specifically? Oh, don't worry. Think of it as a learning opportunity. Mr. Johnson repeated. Since it was a direct order from the boss, Emily, who worked in the factory, would accompany me to the negotiation with Shiny. On the day of the meeting, we met in front of Shiny's headquarters. "Chris," she called out. Though Emily didn't have her usual pigtails today, she still wore her large round glasses and a somewhat dull suit. "Morning, Emily." "Good morning. Looking forward to working with you today." "Yeah, likewise." "You seem troubled." "What's wrong?" Had my expression been so obvious that even Emily noticed? "Well, I don't want to speak ill of our client, but Mrs. Brown, today's counterpart, discriminates against people based on their education." "Educational discrimination?" "I've been working since high school, but when Mrs. Brown found out, she said, 'A high school dropout is my business partner?' She always belittles me." "Wait, Chris, you're a high school dropout?" "Yeah, due to family circumstances." Emily looked surprised. "I guess high school dropouts are rare in her generation, too." "That's a coincidence. I'm a high school dropout too." "What?" Now it was my turn to be surprised. My father passed away early, and my mother, who was a homemaker, couldn't find a company which hired her full-time. She worked several part-time jobs to raise us, but her health deteriorated. So, as the eldest daughter, I chose not to go to high school and to work instead. Emily had a younger brother and sister, both currently in high school. Her dream was to send them to college. "You've had a tough time, huh, Emily?" I said, and she laughed. "Of course, it was tough. But because of that, I've been able to achieve my dream. Now, I'm ready to pursue the next one." She spoke brightly about achieving her goals and looking forward to the next one. She's a good person, I thought. Still, I wondered if working at a textile factory was really her dream. That question lingered in the back of my mind. Inside the meeting room at Shiny's headquarters, Mrs. Brown greeted us with her usual condescending attitude. "Mrs. Brown, thank you for having us. You are handling this?" "I don't like high school dropouts, and who is this plain, miserable-looking woman?" she rudely asked. "She's our new hire, accompanying me for training purposes." "We appreciate your understanding. I'm Emily. Pleased to meet you today." "Okay, then. If you want to present, do it quickly so we don't waste time." I swallowed my usual frustrations and took a seat across from her with Emily, pulling out the tablet and documents. Our factory could produce around the same amount as last time. I began presenting to Mrs. Brown, who was busy fiddling with her phone. She only occasionally muttered, or "I see," clearly not paying attention. Suddenly, music began playing from her phone. She didn't even look up and said, "I'm watching a video here. Let me know when you're done." "What?" I said, "Tell me when you're finished." "I'm watching a movie, and it's getting good." "Well, what is she talking about?" "We're here to discuss business," I said. "What? You got a problem?" she glared. "I have nothing but problems with this," I said. "Chris, you high school dropout," she continued, still not looking up from her phone, leaning her cheek on her hand. "You know today's project, right?" Yes. It's a collaboration with Monroe, right? You know how much revenue this collaboration could bring, don't you? That's why you're here begging for the job, right?" Monroe is a fashion designer who appeared suddenly like a comet a few years ago. Her designs are sophisticated, playful, and eye-catching. Her collections quickly became popular, and all their collaborations with various brands have sold out immediately. Her impact on the fashion industry is widely known. But her identity remains a mystery. "Well, yes, that's why we're here to discuss. I was told to gather candidates from various companies, so I'm just giving you some time, but I'll consider it. Once you're done presenting, you can leave. I'll get back to you if we decide to work together." Despite saying she doesn't want to associate with high school dropouts like us, Mrs. Brown kept watching videos on her phone, and I was bewildered. What does she think business is about? Her attitude had always been dismissive, but this time, she was worse than ever. Before I could figure out what to say, Emily, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "Excuse me. Listen, just hear us out and then decide. That's why we're here." "Huh? Who is this?" I said, "Listen up. We're going to tell you about our product's strengths." Mrs. Brown finally looked up from her phone. You know, someone like you probably doesn't understand, but honestly, the material doesn't matter. Customers will buy anything that looks good. Even low-quality products will be sold if the design is nice. So it doesn't matter which company manufactures it. Are you in the business of selling clothes but don't love them? Little miss, do you know what business is about? Where did you graduate from? I'm a high school dropout. What? I didn't go to high school or college. I'm a high school dropout. Mrs. Brown chuckled. Hey, Chris, you're a high school dropout too, right? Yes, I am. Chris, does your company only hire high school dropouts? You hired this plain, uneducated girl and expect her to talk to someone like me with a degree? I was getting angry as she not only insulted me but also belittled Emily. Yes, she's a high school dropout, but she's no amateur. She's been working hard at our company, learning everything she can about clothes and textiles. I brought her because I knew she could hold her own with someone like you. Despite your degree, it's not about holding your own. I just don't want to talk to high school dropouts anymore. Is being a high school dropout really that bad? Of course. Regardless of the circumstances, not going to high school means you'll never be able to compete with a college graduate like me. Emily, right? You should understand that you can't win against me. We're not even on the same level. If you can't accept that, I'll refuse to work with your company from now on. I was barely containing my anger, clenching my fists, and feeling ready to explode. Emily, you must be about 20, right? What have you been doing all this time as a high school dropout? Didn't you waste all that time? How can someone with just a junior high school education understand anything? The moment I heard those words from Mrs. Brown, something snapped inside me. Enough! I slammed my hand on the table and stood up. She's been working hard to learn. What does being a high school dropout have to do with it? You have no right to mock her. Apologize to her. What? Why are you suddenly? So what if we're high school dropouts? Does having a degree make you so special? Is there a law saying you can belittle us high school dropouts? By the way, it's us subcontractors that make your products. Without us, you can't produce anything, even with your degree. And I understand that as a high school dropout, too. Emily added, glaring. You know, saying that low-quality products are fine is unacceptable in this industry. Shame on you. Wah! As the insults flew, Emily held me back when I was ready to argue further. Chris, that's enough. Let's go. With one final warning to Mrs. Brown, you'll regret this, we left Shiny's headquarters. As soon as we stepped outside, I exhaled heavily and hung my head. Emily, I'm sorry for raising my voice and for showing you a failed negotiation. Why are you apologizing, Chris? Don't worry about it. But... Besides, Chris, I was really happy you got so angry on my behalf. No, I just couldn't stand those words because I know how hard you work, Emily. And you know, that Mrs. Brown is finished. She said with a sly smile. What do you mean? The next day, we received an official notification from Shiny saying they wouldn't proceed with the contract. And I was called to Mr. Johnson's office. Given my confrontation with Mrs. Brown yesterday, it made sense that Shiny decided not to proceed with us. I was prepared to be fired for angering such a major client. But he smiled. Mr. Johnson, I'm so sorry. No, don't worry about it. Besides, that collaboration between Shiny and E. Monroe won't happen. What? Why? And Chris, I heard from Emily. Thanks for protecting her. I appreciate you taking care of our valuable employees. No problem. Our employees are like family. That's what you taught me, Mr. Johnson. Since that day, Emily hadn't been seen around the office. I worried she might have been affected by Mrs. Brown's harsh words or disheartened by my outburst. I really messed up. Without the contract, I was pretty down. But a few days later, Shiny's website posted an apology. The collaboration with E. Monroe has been cancelled due to unforeseen circumstances. When I saw that, I rushed to Mr. Johnson's office. Mr. Johnson. The collaboration between Shiny and E. Monroe. Oh, Chris, perfect timing. Mr. Johnson seemed to be talking to someone. I recognized those pigtails immediately. Chris, long time no see. Wait, Emily. I haven't seen you around lately. Yeah, I had some things to take care of and took some time off. So, you didn't quit. Seeing her again made me feel a little relieved. And Mr. Johnson, about Shinies. The cancelled collaboration, right? Yes. It's really been cancelled. Yeah, because I declined it. What? Her statement made me gasp. Wait, why did you? You see, this Emily is actually E. Monroe. What? Emily then shared her story. From a young age, she loved drawing fashion sketches and dreamed of becoming a fashion designer. She spent all her time drawing. Because of this, she was considered eccentric and had no friends. Like me, she suddenly lost her father. Her mother struggled with multiple part-time jobs while frequently falling ill. Emily decided to work instead of finishing school to support her sisters. She delivered newspapers while searching for an apparel store willing to hire a high school dropout. Eventually, she began studying and working her way toward becoming a fashion designer. In no time, her talent led her to start working as a freelance designer online. But her sister advised her to gain more social skills and broader fashion knowledge. So, Emily looked for a fashion-related company close to her home. That's how she found our company. She explained her situation and desire to learn to Mr. Johnson, who immediately agreed to help. Working here showed me how many people are involved in making just one piece of clothing. I understood that before. But now I realize firsthand that I can't do it alone. She then became known as E. Monroe and was set to collaborate with Shiny. But while working here, she began hearing negative rumors about Shiny. Emily thought she needed to be careful, so she consulted Mr. Johnson and decided to join the negotiation. Right after that meeting, she contacted Shiny to decline the collaboration. Shiny, of course, panicked. Understandably, they had already announced the collaboration and were in the middle of planning. At the end, even Mrs. Brown's mother, who was supposed to have retired, called me. She continues and are laughing. When Mrs. Brown's mother asked why, Emily said, "Can you ask your daughter for the reason?" She insulted high school dropouts and made us feel really uncomfortable. Sure, I'm a high school dropout. But tell her that I have the power to cancel this collaboration with Shiny. She smiled confidently. Because of the incident, Mrs. Brown was fired from Shiny. The cancelled collaboration caused significant financial losses. And she was ousted from the family. She once stormed into our office, hair disheveled, shouting, "It was all a joke. Tell E. Monroe to undo the cancellation, and I'll apologize." We immediately sent her away, and I never saw her again. About a year after the Shiny incident, Emily, known as E. Monroe, completed her training period at our factory and left the company. However, she still stayed in touch and frequently visited us. Without her work clothes, she looked even more fashionable, befitting her reputation as a renowned designer. Chris, I've got a favor to ask. That comment from Mr. Johnson led to E. Monroe exclusively using our factory for production. I became her primary point of contact. If this textile factory makes the product, I'll consider the collaboration, she'd say. Our company quickly gained recognition as the textile manufacturer endorsed by E. Monroe. Each time we received an order, we'd pour our hearts into it. I often attended meetings between E. Monroe and other companies. Her dedication as a designer was awe-inspiring. Recently, she secured a collaboration with the major brand Zorro, and I watched her handle negotiations firmly, never compromising. For every collaborations, she showed me many designs. All her designs was wonderful. She adapted her designs to the target age group of each brand, but each one was unmistakably identifiable as a creation of E. Monroe. Her playful designs were widely praised across all brands, showcasing her genius as a designer. The collaborative projects that the entire team tackled together with every order were successful at each brand company. The positive feedback from various companies raised our company's reputation, helping us grow significantly. I wondered if I had repaid Mr. Johnson in some small way. E. Monroe has really changed. It was the project manager, working with E. Monroe for the second time, who said this. Really? Yes, in our previous collaboration, she didn't offer as many ideas and used to say that all she cared about was the design. That's hard to imagine now. Now, she's much more collaborative and gives lots of input. She's become more sociable. The manager was confident that this collaboration would be even better than the last. It's probably because of what I learned working at that company. Sharpened by the field? That, but also when you, Chris, got so angry on my behalf with Mrs. Brown. I realized that you were really paying attention to my work. Well, I decided I wanted to be like that, someone who can fairly evaluate people. For that, connecting with people is important. My family says I've changed for the better too. Emily smiled as she said this. Now, she and I are a couple. Our relationship developed through working together, partly because we both shared the experience of being high school dropouts. When I told Mr. Johnson, who had been like a parent to me, he cried with joy, saying, "Finally, Chris has a girlfriend." Today, Emily wanted to meet my grandparents, so we're heading to their house now. We often faced prejudice because of our education. And as young as we are, there's still a lot ahead of us. When challenges come, we shouldn't look down on others, but instead, focus on doing our best with what we can do now. If we put in the effort, the results will surely follow. We know that if we keep at it, someone will eventually recognize our hard work.